Hello everybody and welcome back to the internet's best reactions. Today we're talking about the Belgian Grand Prix, and you can probably tell by my face I don't really know how to act. We didn't actually have any racing action, and that makes me very upset because, you know, on a Sunday it's race day. You have the vibes, don't you? You have the excitement, you have the adrenaline. You're ready for George Russell on the front row of the grid. You're ready for absolute carnage with some wet weather. And then we just didn't have it, did we? We just didn't have any of it. But I thought a great idea to still do this episode because everyone was on their phones or computers. So they were making memes, making jokes, and the submissions were pretty top notch. So let's dive into them. At Chip is Awesome YT, George Russell to Toto right about now. Of course, I don't usually include qualifying memes, but that's the only real action we got. Of course we have practice, but technically it's not really real, is it? Qualifying's of course the first part of then Sunday in the race, but we didn't get it, so here we go. We're just going to react to some qualifying memes. Can you tell I'm a little bit emotional that we haven't got any racing action to talk about, but it's fine. And of course George Russell was second on the grid. I can talk about qualifying, it feels weird, but of course that quali session was epic. It was all about tyre temperatures and making sure it's in a great window right at the end of the session, and George Russell got P2. What more does that man need to do in order to get a Mercedes contract signed, sealed, delivered, and more importantly, and most importantly for us, we know, put out into the public? At jburrow1273, live scenes in Toto's office printing George's Merc contract. I mean, how much more? Just George did that in a Williams. P2, and of course then gets a podium, which still I cannot compute at all. I cannot compute the fact that George now has a podium to his name and a P2, and he was 3/10 of getting his first race win. I'm very glad he didn't get his first race win in those circumstances. I think it would have left a bit of a sour taste. Of course I'm sure George wouldn't have minded at all, but I think for us and spectators and lovers of the sport, you want to see them cross the line after a really hard fought battle on track. But yeah, George will still very much pop that trophy on a mantelpiece and stare at it every day. At a Canadian cheese, we didn't get what we wanted, but we got what we deserved. Of course, we haven't even spoken about it because we don't usually speak about qualifying, but of course Lando Norris and the crash that he had going up Eau Rouge and then through Radion, that was big. And of course, you know, it's just, you kind of see those incidents and you just get really scared, don't you? Of course, with what's happened in the past, there's been crashes with Jack Aitken, of course, in Endurance Series, and also, of course, with Antoine Hubert, and there's been the W Series, and there's been so many incidents around there. Then seeing Lando go in the wall in a Formula 1 car, which, of course, is the fastest of the lot, it just kind of left a bit of a horrible feeling. But of course, I mean, Lando kind of hit the wall in a good way so that it kind of dissipated the energy not into him, and of course, he was fit to race. Of course, that race that happened, right? The race that we're going to talk about right now, that Max Verstappen won. At Tall Radiated, George Russell tomorrow at the front row. To be fair, what is this place? What am I doing? Should I be driving? I'm sure there were a lot of questions going on in George Russell's mind, and I'm so glad. Because, of course, George has had some very bad luck, hasn't he? Of course, you know, some of it self-inflicted, don't get me wrong. There's been the curse of him not being able to score points, and now he's just walked away with 9 without actually doing one real racing lap, which still I cannot comprehend. But the fact that he was on the front row, just absolutely amazing. But you did think something was going to go wrong. Maybe he was going to slip off the road or crash into the back of Max or whatever. But it didn't happen. There was no bad luck. The Williams kept working and he got a podium. Okay, I think that's enough qualifying stuff. It feels weird to be doing qualifying recaps. I know I've said it a few times now. Let's actually talk about the delays that we experienced today. And I still haven't got my release of F1 racing action. But of course, next weekend we're at Zandvoort. So we haven't got long to wait. At F1 Troll, the only solution. I'm actually really disappointed. And I don't know if I looked away from the screens at a time when it happened. But I didn't see any boat races. I didn't see any of the traditional boat races that the F1 teams usually do in order to pass the time. Of course, we saw an amazing bit of football between Vettel and Mick Schumacher. We had some, I think there was a Macarena going on in the Alpine garage. There were vibes, and I appreciate that, but I needed some boat racing. I needed them to actually go up to the kart track that we saw. That guy, if you watched qualifying, that guy actually binned it in the gravel when the world was watching. I wanted to see more of that. I don't know why we didn't. Why didn't we send the drivers over there to just kind of battle out a few points and we actually got some racing action? But we didn't. Can you tell I was getting a little bit desperate? At Stewie_III, Danny Rick cracking jokes during the delayed start. Of course, I think he was talking about his 200 races, kind of saying is a big deal. And that's what I like to see. I haven't enjoyed Danny Rick kind of going through this phase of just not feeling very good. You can see he's quite frustrated. There's been kind of camera footage of him sat by his car looking really deflated after a poor performance or whatever. But of course, P4 in qualifying, still wasn't up there with Lando, but of course Lando made the mistake and Danny Rick was up there in P4. But to just have that kind of happy-go-lucky, joking around Danny Rick back again was quite pleasant to see. And I want to see more of that the whole season. I want Danny Rick happy. Now, of course, we did have a moment or two where, you know, we actually did see the F1 cars moving behind the safety car and getting a feel of whether the track is good enough or not. And Max Verstappen was probably the only person saying that because he was at the front of the field. At jconley47, everyone's whose name is not Verstappen. Of course, Max actually thought the first time they went round was the best time when you compare it to when they went out at the end. And you could see it, the track conditions, you know, there was so much spray being just flown up by the cars. Of course, Max being at the front of the queue, all he has to deal with is a safety car, which is not exactly the same as a Formula 1 car with massive rear wheels spraying up huge amounts of water. So I'm not surprised Max was the only one that was like, yeah, it's fine. It's absolutely fine, mate. No, we could, yeah, give me a little wind wipers in my helmet. Yeah, fine. But no, it was definitely too treacherous to race. I'm glad they didn't, because I'm sure we would have had maybe 1-2 laps before we would have seen a crash or some sort of safety car anyway. At Griftonstein, good thing Max practiced for this race start over the summer break. Yeah, I mean, we've had a summer break. We've had enough weeks without racing action to then come back, appetites fully whetted, ready for the Belgian Grand Prix Spa, one of the most iconic circuits on the calendar, and we didn't get a race. It's okay. Zandvoort next, and Zandvoort is full of overtaking opportunities. At Tijan1406, you sure this is an F1 race and not the local farmers market? I enjoyed that. That was good. It was kind of left field, that. It was different. I wasn't expecting it, so well done. I can't say your name, Tijan, Tyne, but either way, that did make me laugh. But of course, they needed those sort of marquee things, otherwise they would have got absolutely soaked in the cars. This was also an interesting debate. At Hitman_MHK, Toto, after hearing Checo can start from the pit lane, of course, Checo had a crash on the way to the grid, and I was quite critical, saying, you know, I think that, you know, your responsibility as a driver is to at least get to the grid, and I know it was very treacherous, but if 10 drivers had gone off, then fair enough. I would have been like, you know, fair, you know, it's clearly horrific out there, but Sergio was the only one to crash into the wall, so not great, but it didn't really matter. Well, actually, no, it did matter. It didn't matter in the sense that he could repair his car after a back and forth with Red Bull, Mercedes and the FIA, but the thing was, it did matter because he dropped himself all the way out of the points and at the back of the pack, and of course we didn't get any racing action, so it's points thrown away in this constructors battle again. So I'm sure Red Bull aren't going to be the best pleased in their, well, I was going to say post-race debrief, the post-rainy, not happening race debrief. At Luke Schluter, I couldn't believe my eyes. Neither could I. And that could be translated from qualifying or the race, because George Russell got P2. Did you know? Did you know George Russell got P2?
What? Nah, I never knew that. I never knew that.
At Ilya Sazak23, driver's description of the weather condition of the radio be like. Actually, this is actually a clever way of doing this meme. I didn't even think of it this way. That is brilliant stuff. So well done, Ilyas. That's... I mean, I don't even know what the likes of Sonoda and the guys at the back of the pack would have been feeling if Hamilton was underwater. Now, us F1 fans are known for our rain dances and praying for rain and hoping for something to spice up the action, but then of course we got all the rain. Every rain dance ever done was put into Belgium. So well done. Just calm it down a little bit with the rain dances. At Formula Miguel, there's a reason why it's called Spa. It's so true. Spa literally has its own microclimate and just takes all the moisture out of the entire F1 calendar and puts it into Sunday and Saturday and Friday. And to be fair, it's been raining for pretty much a long time from what I've heard from the locals. But I think it's going to be dry at Zandvoort, so at least we're going to get racing action. Watch me. I'm going to have jinxed it somehow, and we're not going to race at Zandvoort either, are we? But just Don't clip this. At Hi, my name is Izzy. Michael Massey going over the start race with the stewards right now. That was also really confusing. Of course, you had the stopwatch, which was confusing because it was like 3 hours to go. Then it was, oh, we've only got 1 hour to go. And then it was like, oh no, it's actually paused. But then also just everything. You had the Perez incident. You just had, I don't know how many laps are going on here. It genuinely sounded like Michael was being asked questions. He was going, I don't know, mate. I'll have a look in the rule book and I'll let you know. Because originally, didn't he say to Red Bull that Sergio wouldn't be allowed to come back into the race because he took external assistance or something to get his car back to the pit lane? And then turns out it was fine. It just seemed like it was very wishy-washy. I know it's a very unique situation what was going on, and Sergio crashing on the way to the grid, but it just seemed like F1 were just like, I don't have a clue what's going on. I really don't, but. We'll make it up. We'll just go with it. It's fine. Tweet of the week time now. The person that wins an amazing Fanatec prize for using hashtag WTF1 and me picking the favourite one is at Ben_Pigeon24. Verstappen telling his engineer it is okay for him to start a race. Some of you may DNF, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Brilliant part of Shrek. If you haven't seen Shrek, what are you doing with your life? But yeah, great meme. Well done. Max didn't care about anyone else. Ben, you win an amazing Fanatec prize. A few other submissions of just people trying to enjoy the cars going round, which was very limited, don't get me wrong. At Laura_Matey, me trying to see the cars on the TV through all that spray. At this point, we all knew as F1 fans it was going to be very tricky to get any sort of racing conditions, didn't we? When we just saw, well, actually, when we didn't see anything, no F1 cars, they were all behind some spray, it was really foggy, at the end it was getting really dark as well. We were kind of just at that point going, right, just cut it off. It's like 35 minutes to go, just see it, it's done, we'll see you at Zandvoort. George Russell's got a podium. What more can you want from life? What do we think, actually? I want to know your opinions in the comment section below. Do we feel happy with 2 laps behind a safety car basically firming a classification? For me, it doesn't sit massively right because we didn't get a race. There was literally no green flag racing. So for me, it's kind of like a bit meh, but I know it's there for a lot of reasons. I'm sure a lot of it's to do with money as well, when saying, well, this was a race, so, got to cough up for your money or whatever. But yeah, it wasn't, well, of course it wasn't ideal, but I'm not sure if half points is deserved from 2 laps behind a safety car. This was another funny moment. At Shapansy, Red Bull mechanic, just go get that part from the truck. I mean, that will haunt him for the rest of his days. Of course, that was when he went in, obviously rushing to go and get something in his little sort of compartment outside the back of the garage and just fell. The cameraman has followed him, and that clip will be circulated, I guarantee, throughout the whole of the Red Bull team and probably the whole paddock for the rest of time. That man will never be able to escape that piece of content. And finally, to sum things up from you guys on your submissions, at Nish Manoj, did Russell get a podium? Yes. What did it cost? The race. And I wanted to see George do well. I wanted to see Williams get more points, but I absolutely would not have sacrificed the entire race and our entertainment for that. So, sorry, George, but I wanted to see some racing. Right, social media team championship time now, and as you can imagine, a lot of the social media managers were on their phones a lot because nothing was happening. So, here are the top 3 from the Belgian Grand Prix. In 3rd place, we have Mercedes-AMG F1. It's a scary image, but it's Toto, and it absolutely deserves points, as much as you wouldn't want to bump into him at night. Very scary, and he's a very tall man, and he's a very strong man, but still a funny image all the same. In 2nd place, we have McLaren F1. Tell us you're British without telling us you're British, George Russell. I'm getting a bit peckish, to be honest. I can relate. I am peckish right now. I was peckish 2 hours ago, and I'll be peckish in 2 hours from now as well. And finally, the winners of the Social Media Team Championship for the Belgian Grand Prix, although it feels weird to say Grand Prix because it wasn't really a Grand Prix, was Haas F1 team. And it's just a video, isn't it? It's just a video of Vettel and Mick Schumacher playing football. They know what they're doing. They want the points, Haas. I see what you're doing. And you can have them. Well done. Max points. That's 1 point for Mercedes-AMG F1, 2 points for McLaren, and 3 points for Haas F1.
And now it's time for Race Rundown with your host, Matthew Gallagher.
Right, race rundown time now. And, well, it's not a race, is it? It's qualifying rundown with a couple of, crashes and pit lane starts. Yeah, lovely. Okay, here we go then. The finishers, the qualifiees, I don't know what to call them, but either way, there's 20 of them, because even Perez's car got fixed just so I had to do 20. Here we go. Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Vettel, Gasly, Ocon, damn it, I genuinely felt it in my stomach. I felt like I was going to get there because I got so much energy from not seeing an F1 race that I was ready to bang out 20. Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Vettel, Gasly, Ocon, Leclerc, Latifi... Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, Ricciardo... Oh my God! Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Vettel, Gasly, Ocon, Leclerc, Latifi, Sainz, Alonso, Bottas, Giovinazzi, Norris, Tsunoda, Schumacher. That Schumacher feature was lovely, wasn't it, in that Jordan? Lovely. Loved that. 30 years since Schumi drove it. Beautiful. Tear to the eye. Lovely. Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Vettel, Gasly, Ocon, Leclerc, Latifi, Sainz, Alonso, Bottas, Giovinazzi, Norris, Tsunoda, Schumacher, Mazepin, Stroll, Raikkonen. It was so bad! Right, this is the one! Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Vettel, Gasly, Ocon, Leclerc, Latifi, Sainz, Alonso, Bottas, Giovinazzi, Norris, Tsunoda, Schumacher, Mazepin, Stroll, Raikkonen, Perez. It was lovely! We move on. Right, that's it. Thank you so much for watching the internet's best reactions to the Belgian Grand Prix. I don't want to talk about the fact it wasn't the Grand Prix anymore. I need to go and have a lie down. But fortunately, it's Zandvoort in less than 7 days' time, so we can all just concentrate on that. If you want to get involved next time, use the hashtag WTF1 on social media, and I'll pick the very best ones to feature, and if it's the best one, you'll win an amazing Fanatec prize. Thank you so much to them for sponsoring this series, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!